We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and then followed by the invocation by Councilman John Agee. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Just before I get started, this is a proclamation. It's going to be honoring the emergency management team. We have a young lady that worked in 911, and bless her heart, she has just absolutely had a really bad day over the last little night. Her name is Melissa Westbrook. So I want everybody to think about Melissa Westbrook for us. Lord, thank you for allowing us to come together as the Council of Chester County. Thank you for allowing all the citizens of Chester County to come and see and hear what we do as a council. And please remember Ms. Westbrook. Ms. Westbrook was a dedicated employee of the 911 system and was a very tremendous dispatcher and helped an awful lot of the police and the fire and the EMS services and the emergency management services. And please keep her in your prayers and our prayers for her to be able to come back and do something that is very difficult to do. In God's name we pray, amen.
Thank you. All right, we'll begin with item 3A on our agenda, which is the approval of the County Council meeting minutes for the July 21st, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 21st, 2025 County Council meeting.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all in favor. Next item is 3B, which is the August 11th, 2025 council workshop minutes.
I'll make a motion we approve the August 11th council workshop minutes.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Next is citizen comments, and we don't have anyone signed up to speak. We don't have a public hearing tonight, and so that takes us to number 6, for ordinances, resolutions, and proclamations. Our first item on the agenda is the proclamation in honor of National Emergency Management Month. And so we have a proclamation tonight. So a proclamation in honor of National Emergency Management Month. Whereas emergencies and disasters, whether natural or man-made, can occur with little to no warning, presenting significant risk to the lives, property, and well-being of Chester County residents. And whereas the Chester County Emergency Management Department, in coordination with first responders, public health officials, nonprofit organizations, state agencies, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, work tirelessly to plan, respond, recover, and mitigate the impacts of disasters. And whereas emergency managers play a vital role in building and maintaining strong partnerships with the community, local businesses, and volunteer groups to ensure coordinated and effective emergency response and recovery. And whereas Chester County Council recognizes and appreciates the dedication of our Chester County Emergency Management Team, Director Ed Darby, Assistant Director Christopher Eifert, and additional employees who play a vital role in emergency response services, demonstrating unwavering commitment, professionalism, and service to our community. And whereas their continued efforts have strengthened Chester County's preparedness, response, and recovery capabilities, helping to make our county more resilient in the face of adversity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Chester County Council does hereby proclaim the month of August 2025 as Emergency Management Awareness Month in Chester County, South Carolina, and urges all residents, organizations, and businesses to recognize and thank the emergency management professionals who work diligently to protect and serve Chester County. We further encourage all community members to take proactive steps towards emergency preparedness. This is resolved this day, August 18th, 2025. So we want to We want to give those folks a hand, and we also have our director, Ed Darby, with us today, so we're going to get a picture too. We have an excellent team here at Chester County in emergency services, and we want to thank Director Ed Darby and all those that work with you for the work that you do. Next is item 6B, which is Resolution 2025-19, providing preliminary approval for certain incentives to induce a company identified as Project 2493, acting for itself, one or more current or future affiliates, collectively known as the company, to establish or expand certain facilities in Chester County, South Carolina, including a fee in lieu of ad valorem tax agreement, a multi-county industrial or business park arrangement, a special source revenue credit, adoption of a letter of intent regarding the transfer of certain real property owned by the county, and other related matters. Is there a motion for Resolution 2025-19?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-19.
I'll
Second.
second it, but I have a comment.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Yes, sir.
In reading this and having put a lot of time and effort into trying to figure a lot of stuff out, when we adopt and we make it a multi-county industrial park, when we make that, that means the money collected from that account can be spent anywhere in this county, any way it wants to be. It does not have to be spent in the area where it's collected. It's kind of like impact fees. Impact fees have to be spent exactly where they're collected. If we vote to let it be a multi-county industrial park, they can take that money, just like developmental fees, and spend it anywhere they want. I'm not in favor of that anymore. Now, once I understood.
So I should have also, thank you, Mr. Agee. I did have on my notes here, I wanted to ask Mr. Kozlarek to kind of give us an overview of this resolution for our benefit as well as the public.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, this resolution does two things. The first I'll talk about is the letter of intent. It is for product development of one or more spec buildings in the Chester R&D Park, approximately 29 acres. It's parcel 2. That is the initial part of this resolution. It would approve the letter of intent, which would allow the county to continue to negotiate with the potential developer to determine whether the county and the developer could come up with a more definitive agreement for how to develop the park. So it is non-binding, even if council approves it tonight. The second part of this is much more like what the county would see in a more traditional development project or industrial project, and that is the preliminary approval or the inducement for other incentives under state law. Normally, we see these as standalone fee in lieu of tax agreements, and they start with an inducement resolution, which is the second part of this resolution. So even tonight, if the council approved this, the property itself would not actually be designated as part of a multi-county park tonight. It is simply indicating the county's intent if all of the other conditions are met, if a definitive agreement is ever reached, and if a fee in lieu of tax agreement is ever approved by ordinance by county council, then it could be put into a multi-county park or designated as multi-county park property. So this is merely the first step in that process, just like with any sort of industrial or commercial development that the county goes through.
All right, thank you very much. Is there more discussion from council?
My only comment is, if we leave it in there, we're gonna say, well, are we gonna do this? I'd rather right up front say, no, we're not gonna do this.
Are there any more comments from council? Not, I will call for the question. Those in favor of approving Resolution 2025-19, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm opposed to it with that specific part left in it.
All right, so that makes it 5-1. Motion passes. Next, we have item 6C, which is the first reading of ordinance 2025-19, amending ordinance number 2018-11 as amended and clarified by ordinance 2022-13, as further amended by ordinance number 2023-15 to provide for the allocation of fee in lieu of tax revenues for some property located in the county and providing for other related matters. Do you have any words before we discuss?
If you want me to give myself.
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yes, sir,
Yeah.
Mr. Hester.
So I do have
So
a
what we'll
prepared
do-
statement.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll have Mr. Hester with his prepared statement, and then if there's a motion, then that will be when we discuss.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members, and our public, our audience. This ordinance is amending ordinance 2023-15, as Chairman Wilson stated, to change how 5% of the fee in lieu share for fire service is used, keeping it at 5%, however, but pulling it into a countywide fund allocated during the annual budget process rather than sending it automatically to the district where the project sits. The background on this is that Chester County receives about $10.4 million in fee in lieu. Of that, districts, special purpose fire districts, currently get about $353,000 directly, and the county has been adding another $128,000 annually to make the districts what we call whole from the gateway fee in lieu that is pledged for debt. Pre-gateway fee low is about $1.1 million. Districts get about $11,000 by millage share. The gateway is $2.5 million and almost entirely pledged to debt. Post-gateway is $6.7 million. Districts get 5%, which is approximately $330,000. So council's authority under state law and our ordinance reserves council's discretion to amend the allocation method and to withhold, redirect fee in lieus for projects benefiting the intended entity. The ordinance is not a contract with other taxing entities. What the amendment does, it keeps the total fire share at 5%, but places it into a dedicated fund. Allocations would be made publicly by council during budget workshops based on need, apparatus conditions, equipment conditions, staffing, coverage, and countywide priorities. Nothing is taken away. This does not mandate cuts. It adds transparency, justification, and procurement compliance. Why this helps? Fire protection is a mutual aid dependent. No department operates alone. Centralizing the 5% so that council shore up under-resourced areas, reduce duplicated processes, and align spending to a countywide strategy rather than isolated priorities. The process going forward, beginning with the fiscal year 26-27 budget cycle, all special purpose tax districts will submit their budgets to finance as normally done and present at public workshops where council can then evaluate the needs and allocate revenue from this pot of funds. Operational context, county has followed, and this goes, I talk a little bit about, the county has followed NFPA 1900-1911 for fleet guidance, and our combined fleet, and I don't know if anyone knows this, but we have 75-plus vehicles, fire apparatus, that the county maintains. And most of those are with an average age of 21 years, underscoring the need to prioritize replacements and reserve funding systematically. Investment to date over the last 4 budgets. County operations funding for fire has risen by $2,118,000, $118,600. It has gone from $597,000 to $2.7 million. We now have 28 full-time firefighters at 3 different stations since 2023, and construction is underway to provide full-time coverage in western Chester County. Our track record is promises made and promises kept. At the end of the day, the 5% fee in lieu for fire, this ordinance and the amendment allocated annually based on need, improving transparency, mutual aid, reliability, and strategic oversight without reducing the total fire share. The county over the last several years has had continually increased its support not only to our special purpose districts, but all departments. This change gives council direct oversight of funds being allocated, ensures that taxpayer dollars are used within the fire service as directed by those elected and entrusted with those funds.
All right, so maybe before any discussion, is there a motion on the table?
I make a motion that we have first reading of the ordinance, but I have questions.
All right, we have a motion for first reading to move forward. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Hester, the other night, Mr. Killian said, can we get these people together? Mr. Hester came down to Richburg, and there was a great number of the people that are the board members of the fire district. I see one here tonight, but I might be wrong. At any rate, somewhere in that conversation, Mr. Hester brought up that this was about, well, I actually see two, brought up that this money was going to be used to build a new jail. He had $12 million already, and he needed $50 million more, and that this money was going to be put into that. Now, I'm just telling you what was said at the meeting, and because I didn't get to stay at all of it. If it's going to be used for the jail, a mill is $125,000. And if you took 20-something mills, you could reduce the taxes of the citizens of this county by 20%. You could reduce the tax millage by a significant amount of money if you did that. Now, I also tonight, I got a call right before I left, and I was given this to read. And this is in response to the meeting that he had at Richburg. Fire departments rely on stability, dedicated funding to maintain response time, equipment, staffing, and training. Pulling FELO money weakens the fire protection services, which puts lives, property, and business at risk. Diverting these funds away from public safety undermines the spirit of why they exist in the first place. Residents and businesses expect that their contributions, whether through property taxes or fee in lieu agreements, support essential services. If fire departments lose revenue, taxpayers will eventually bear the burden through higher taxes, special fees, or weaker fire coverage. Fee in lieu of tax money earmarked for fire protection should stay with the fire department. Unlike some government programs that can be scaled back without immediate danger, fire protection is a core necessity. Moving those funds elsewhere can erode public trust in the county leadership and create tension between government and emergency services that protect the community. That's not me, but that's what the people out there in the community brought to me today to bring up here and read to you.
Who in the
have
community
been
sent you
one-
that?
I'm sorry.
Who in the community, is that from the
It's from the firemen.
firemen in general?
And, well, not just firemen, it's the community, but the fire people involved in that conversation. Now, I'm passionate about it because I've dedicated a lot of my life to this. And I don't have any issue knowing that the sheriff needs a jail. I've said that since day one when I sat down in this chair. But the citizens of this county ought to be the ones that select that money and pay for that and sign off on that and vote for it, not by doing whatever with fee in lieu of taxes and coming up with the money. The citizens of this county need to vote to build a new jail, and I promise you, if it comes up for a vote, I'm gonna be the first one to vote for it.
So, So if we could, I'll let Mr. Hester respond to some of the remarks you just made, Mr. Agee.
Thank you. And I apologize if there was some confusion, Mr. Agee, about the jail, but I shared some great news. I was attempting to explain to those present at the meeting that I attended last Thursday about the different fee and lieu streams, because as we presented in the workshop, there's three different streams. The gateway fee stream, as we call it, is debt that's pledged to an IRPB bond. It cannot be given anywhere else. It is pledged to a bond that the county adopted to pay for the gateway and amongst other projects. And the great news I was sharing is that because of our fiscal responsibility and because of taking that pool of funds and not spending excess dollars collected through those fee streams that are attached to the gateway, that September 1st, we are going to be able to, it's our first call date on the note, right, Mr. Darby? And so we're going to be able to pay off $12 million of a $16 million loan. It saves the taxpayers of this county $11 million. $11 million we save by being able to pay it off. We'll pay that note off in 2 more years based off of the stream. And my communication there was how, it was kind of an example of when you take these fee streams and you use them appropriately and you pool them, all right, of how powerful it can be and the money it can save taxpayers. And the point that I was making was, and where the jail came in, as in many discussions with the sheriff, we've been trying to figure out how to fund a jail that we desperately need. Well, when we pay that note off, it frees up that fee stream to build a new jail, a $60+ million jail that we don't have to bond for. How awesome is that for the taxpayers? Because we've got a fee, well, it'll be an IRPB bond, but it's not going against our bonding capacity. And so how awesome is that to be able to transition into that and build a jail? And so that was what I was saying. Fire departments get nothing out of that stream now. We give fire departments $128,000 a year to make them whole because they didn't get anything out of that. That's not in an ordinance. That's not anywhere else. We do that because we support fire. So that's where maybe the confusion with the jail came in, but I'm glad I got to share the good news about paying off that bond, because that's something that our citizens should be proud of and should understand when we take those funds that come from fee streams and we put them in a pot like that, how powerful it can be. Now, with regard to, taking money out of fire, again, as I just presented, we are not taking away. It's going into a dedicated fund for fire. Same 5% still goes into a dedicated fund. Every dollar, every new business, every new industry still goes into a dedicated fund. I hate that the sheriff's sitting here hearing that, because he's probably going to beat me up for a 5% for his. But it's going to stay there. The only thing that changes is the process. Instead of districts getting this money directly, you as council, as a legislative body, through the budget process, allocate those funds. I don't think you all are in favor of taking anything away from anyone. And you just, this creates that clarity in the budget. It creates oversight, transparency, and something that taxpayers expect out of you all. So it will stay in fire. It is a process change. And I do appreciate what Mr. Agee said about lowering the millage. And originally, Mr. Darby and I have had a conversation about this, but originally when that money was directed to special purpose tax districts, the goal was to reduce the millage for those SPDs with the fee and lieu's that went there. But it's never been used in that capacity. It's been used as extra revenue. So any more questions, I'd be happy to clarify.
Yes, I have a few questions. First question is, and I'm going to ask these questions, and then you can help me answer them. When you say the $128,000 from the gateway is used to make them whole, can you expound on that a minute and tell me what that means and let the public know what that means when you say make them whole with the $128,000?
So that happened a budget year prior to my arrival. It's not in an ordinance, but it was brought up at council during budget time. And we just, Mr. Darby and myself have kind of kept this going each year with that money because, and again, we could have changed this at any time, because it was not in an ordinance, it's just part of the budget process. But we felt like we didn't want to take anything away from fire. But what happens is that gateway fee stream, as I said, is pledged in our PB bond. Can't be, so 5% doesn't go anywhere else. The only thing else that comes out of that is the 1% multi-county industrial park money. Nothing goes to the school district out of that. Nothing comes to the county out of that. Like, we get nothing. But what we do is we take out of our budget, out of our general fund each year, $128,000, because the list of projects that are within that stream of money, we took the 5% out of the net that comes every year as what fire would get, and instead of fire not getting that money, as we don't get ours and the school district doesn't get theirs, economic development doesn't get theirs, we take money out of our general fund and give it to those fire departments where those projects are, and that's what I mean by making them whole.
You're giving it to them in advance, so to speak.
We're giving it to them when we don't have to give it to
I
them.
got you. The other question is, when we do fee and lieu, the county gets roughly around 75% of the fee and lieu, correct?
76%, yes, sir.
Out of the 76% of the fee and lieu, isn't that how the county funds EMS, Sheriff's Department, Recreation, Administrative Department, salaries, and fire, out of our 78% of fee and lieu?
Yes, sir. I mean, that helps to fund, that is a revenue source, and that helps to fund all operations of the county. If you, and I don't mean to say if you remember, everybody does remember, because I presented it the other night, but when we amended this ordinance in 2023, to make it 2023-15, we took 15% away that was being given to the school district for their debt millage because they didn't need it. Their capacity was fine there. It wasn't a needed portion of their budget. We reallocated that portion and started the first full-time fire at Richburg. And so that 15% has continued to go to Richburg Fire in support, give or take a few dollars, because again, it all fluctuates. But that was what that change was for. So yeah, another 15%. And then as we fund rural fire, as we fund all the things that were presented with regard to maintenance, and that was $500,000 in maintenance fees each year that the county pays for, the insurance on the trucks. And all those things, public works, all the recycling centers, all that comes out of that pot of money.
So ultimately, to answer that question, out of our 76%, we help fund fire out of that 76% as well.
100%.
Okay. The other question is, currently with the fee and lieu money that the fire districts get, how do we hold, or who holds the fire district accountable as to how they spend the fee and lieu money when they receive it? Do they have a budget? Do they have something that we can see now that's recorded, that we can actually see how every dollar of the fee and lieu money is spent?
So yes, each special purpose tax district has to submit a budget each year. You all approve that as part of the budget process. What you can't see is, so let's just say a special purpose tax district gets, they have 5 different revenue sources, right? And one of them being their ad valorem tax for their district. They'll have fee and lieu tax, or we call it a tax that comes in. Manufacturer's reimbursement. There'll be a few other things. Fees that those special purpose tax districts charge for any services that they may. And so all that's lumped. When they create their line item budget, you can't necessarily see, okay, they're using these dollars for this or these dollars for this. It's just a lump of all that money into one, and then they run their line item budget. So you don't necessarily know what those dollars are actually being spent for. And what we've seen, and this is not a jab at anyone, but generally what happens is as their revenues increase, right, from fee and lieu, because you have to understand fee and lieu's are never, the number's not the same each year. It can be here, it can be here because of depreciation, because of special source revenue credits, and it can be a roller coaster ride. But what we see is their revenue from fee and lieu come in, their spending, their budget increases to match it. Then if the following year that money falls off, we have to match it out of our funds, right? And so hopefully that gives you a little clarity on how those budgets work.
And the last question, because I've done some research on this too. So these county fire districts, from what I'm reading, Mr. Kozlar, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I'm reading, outside of the City of Chester Fire District, the rest of the fire districts can be administered by the county council. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Can they be abolished by the county council?
Those that have debt outstanding would be more cumbersome to abolish.
What if we paid the debt?
Not,
If you paid the debt and they didn't have any debt outstanding, I believe you could abolish them.
The point I'm trying to get at is, and I don't want to come out harsh when I say this, but what I'm saying is the county council, from what I'm reading, we're elected by the people. The people elected us to watch their money, ultimately. We're the governing body. From what I'm reading, we have the power to administer these fire districts, abolish these fire districts. By no way am I going to ever vote to abolish these fire districts. But I do feel as though, as an elected official, the people voted for me to watch their money, and I don't see a problem with watching their money. If this money, if we have to turn in something, just like on my own job, I manage a multi-million-dollar manufacturing facility. Everybody has a budget. We cannot just get money and spend it and not let the county or the people know, just like Mr. Agee said, the people got to know where their money is going. And I don't see a problem with letting the people know where the money's going. If you really and truly need this money and you submit a budget for it, what's the problem? Submit the budget, get the money, and let's call it a day.
Well, Mr. Guy, it is absolutely budgeted. It is absolutely presented. It is absolutely audited by Mr. Darby every year. Every cent in the 3 of the 4 districts that I know of are absolutely spot on. Now, there was an issue with a truck that was purchased that did not get some equipment on it, and Fort Long ran short on money trying to make the bills, as I understand it. Ms. Hedgepath is getting ready to be on the fire board tonight, and so we've got that taken care of, but there's not 1 cent. The problem that we have is we appoint Mr. Odell Steele back there, and he's the chairman of the Richburg Fire District. We're going to appoint Ms. Hedgepath, and she's going to be on the Fort Long Fire Board. We got Mr. Bowman, might be Mr. Raines' appointment. I don't remember, but he's the chairman at Lando, and Mr. Union Chisholm, I think, is the guy at Lewis. So there's not but 4 of them. And so I think if you went to any one of those departments and asked to see anything, they could do that. The process is not, by any stretch of the imagination, not being accountable. We have got to be accountable for every dime that we spend. The problem has always been, at Richburg, he was talking about the fee in lieu that's paying for the 9 people that work at Richburg that the county's paying for. Well, there's 5 other people that the taxpayers in Richburg are taxed for individually that they're paying for, that we're accountable for, just like the fee in lieu of tax money. Every dime of taxpayers' money needs to be accountable. And I'm sitting here being 100% with that. I don't have any issue with that. If they can't manage the money, there's 2 people that can sign a check at Richburg. And one of them sitting in this room, the other one's Ms. Rice. Nobody else can write a check.
So we ultimately saying the same thing. If the budget,
Right.
if their budgeting process is correct and they submit it to the county council, it shouldn't be a problem.
That's exactly right.
And just to clarify, so South Carolina Code 4-19-20, basically it says the fire protection district may be operated as an administrative division of the county, or the governing body may appoint a commission consisting of 3 to 7 members and provide their duties and their terms of office. So you provide their duties and their terms. The fairs, so then when you go to section 2 of county code, item A is where council elected to administer it by board. on the last page of that, it says the council and it's, letter D, the council may appropriate action subsequently and provide for a different form of administration of the district, including the operation of the district as an administrative division of the county, as provided by South Carolina Code, and then it goes to list all those. So that's, I think that's what you were asking.
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't saying that I want to abolish the board, but what I'm saying is we got to work together at this thing. And if we're the elected body. I don't own this seat. If somebody want to run for it. But while I'm up here and I'm elected, I want to do the right thing by the people's money. And if we got a revenue stream and we're just asking for reconciliation on how this money's spent, and like Mr. Agee said, we're doing, these districts are doing the right thing with the budget, I don't see what the problem is. Why can't we just go ahead and vote for this, because nothing's been taken? That's just my position. Nothing's been taken from them.
There is one little tidbit that you didn't ask about. It is going to be a problem. Those two gentlemen sitting right out there are members of the Chester Fire District. And we've got an ordinance in here concerning fee in lieu of taxes of IKO. That's in their district. So I don't know how that all works. Whether Mr. Kozlark can sit down there and we can tell them what to do, because I know we can't tell them what to do because they're appointed by the governor of the state of South Carolina. So nobody has gone down there and sat down and talked to the Chester Fire District about IKO, to my knowledge.
Wouldn't their money go up, though?
So
Wouldn't they get more?
Take it.
let me tackle that in two different ways here. So we don't talk to any districts about projects and potentially what's coming, or council hasn't even voted. It's actually on the agenda tonight, so that shouldn't be any item for discussion publicly, period. And so with regard to Chester Fire District, so they, while they operate separately and you cannot change their form of government or their oversight, they too would have to present the council, and the money would not go directly to them either. They would come and present, just like they present their budget annually to council regarding approval of bonds and so forth. So they would follow the same process there. There is no oversight with the rest of their budget, but again, they would follow the same process for those fee and lieu funds. And that has been discussed with, it hasn't, I don't know if I've discussed it officially with the board, because members of the board have come and talked to me, but I've not been to a meeting where I officially discussed it with their board. And if you would like Mr. Kozlark to kind of talk about multi-county industrial parks and how that would work, he can give you a quick explanation of how that would work with them.
The short answer is the state constitution and 41170 of the South Carolina Code do not require the county to engage in discussions with other local governments, except if a project is located in an incorporated municipality and the county would like to designate the property as being part of a multi-county park, then state law requires that the county receive consent from the municipality before it can be designated. It does not require the county to get consent from the school district or any other governmental entity. There are at least two reported decisions, one from the Supreme Court and one from the Court of Appeals as recently as 2024 that make that very clear.
Well, I went to the Chester Fire District Board meeting the other night, and they have retained Mr. Bernie Maybank, who is a fee in lieu of tax attorney in Columbia, to represent them, and they've also retained a financial advisor. So for the sake of argument, the Chester Fire District for many years has not necessarily had that kind of direction and supervision. So I would think that they're going to probably Bernie is going to end up talking to you And so we hopefully get all this stuff fixed, Mr. Guy, because it needs to be just like you just got through saying.
So, Mr. Kozlark, I have a question. I'm pretty sure I'm clear about this, but I want to make sure I understand this. Ordinance number 2018-11, that was the ordinance that originally put into effect the 4%. 4% at the time, not 5%, 4% for the fire districts.
Correct. I am not aware that the county had any set distribution for fire districts or for economic development prior to 2018-11.
Right, because it's 4% for fire and 4% for economic development when that was done. I was on council, I think that was my second year being here, and it was something we did. Like, it wasn't, this did not exist prior to 2018.
That's correct.
That's when it was done. So council did that, and we can undo it. Certainly, I don't want to undo it in the sense that we're not going to continue to fund fire. We want to meet the needs the industry places on these fire districts. I'm absolutely in favor of that. But to Mr. Guy's point, the added, just that added oversight, and as Mr. Hester describes it, the ability to pool resources and be really smart with that money, that's a win for our county. And so I see this as a very good step forward. I know it's different than how we've done it before, but it's not the first time we've ever changed these rates either. So I think it's well within our ability to do it, and I really appreciate the discussion. Is there some more discussion from council?
I would
They
just,
upset? Is the guys on the board, do y'all have who is the guys on the board? Who y'all, is y'all upset with them doing this? Y'all concerned?
We're concerned that ultimately, if we pull these funds, that the taxpayer will ultimately pay the price.
So let's try to, I'm sorry, y'all. Thank
My
y'all
fault.
for, I know Mr.
I got you.
Killian's
I
out
just
here
be
trying to get
wanting-
audience input, but we try not
My
to.
fault, I'm sorry.
This isn't exactly, yeah, let's
got
keep the
you.
discussion up
I
front.
got you.
Can I say one more thing? If Mr. Agee has any information that Chester County may be involved in a lawsuit, and you already have knowledge of that, please convey that to our attorney
The
tonight after the meeting,
the
though.
ability to do the 3 districts that are in District 1 may very well lead me to being in joining with the Chester Fire District in retaining Mr. Maybank. I hope not,
Thank you.
but for the sake of argument, these guys, they just work awful hard,
Yes, sir.
and they could care less about this. So I want to make
Thank you.
sure that they have somebody to stand up behind them.
I just want to ask a question to Mr. Hester. I know Mr. Keegan opened it up kind of for the public out there, but the question was raised that I want an answer to. That question was raised. There was a question, we all just heard the question, that it could turn out to be a burden to the taxpayer. Could you expound on why that will not be a burden to the taxpayer?
Well, you know, it's kind of simple math there. If your budget justifies the need, right, and we all have budgets, every department, sheriff has a budget, every department sitting in here has a budget, you submit your budget. Budgets sometimes have needs and wants, right? And so I don't know their situation with regard to taxpayers, and I know that their budget last year was 2.6 million, or their revenue was $2.6 million, and their budget was 2.4. I know that they have a healthy reserve fund. There should be no need that if they submit a budget and that budget's approved by council and fee and lieu are used to supplement that budget. We have a capital project that we funded on our capital list this year for the training center, which is owned by them as well. And so we've always been supportive in the past. I expect you as council, when those budgets are submitted, will be supportive as long as you have justification for what's on that budget.
So let me play devil's advocate. Let's say, for instance, industry comes in and same situation as GT Tire, and Richburg needed a ladder truck. And let's say, for instance, the city of Chester Fire District. Industry comes in, builds real quick, and they need a ladder truck. But like you said, they got 2.6 million, but the ladder truck's gonna cost 3 million. How, I think that's their concern. How will they get the things that they would need in a hurry if something like that was to happen? My thought process is, I'm voting for them to get it one way or the other. Whatever we got to amend, we're going to amend, because again, my pledge is to the citizens of Chester to make sure that they have everything they need to be safe and sound. But you as the administrator, how would you manage that?
So a couple of things we'd look at. First, we'd look at their debt capacity and their debt millage. So if they're not using their full debt millage, that's the first way you're going to fund something of that nature. You're going to go ahead and order it and get it on order. I mean, you're probably talking 2 to 3 years on getting a ladder truck anyway right now, but unless you got a spec ladder truck. So it depends on what you found. But the first thing we'd look at is their debt millage and see what their debt capacity was to not raise their millage, right? So use what capacity's in there. And they do have capacity right now because we bought the last fire truck for them, so that left them with quite a bit of capacity. And so that would be the start. The second option we would look at is, do we eventually have a truck plan, and then, you know, what does that look like? But the other things we have is we have our capital allotments, we have our capital reserve accounts, and so we have other alternate funding sources. So you as council would make a decision on what choice you would make to pursue that.
Mr. Guy, one other problem that they do have at the meeting I attended the other night is the main station belongs to the city of Chester. It is full of mold and what else? There's some other problem they have. That building was built on top of a spring, and the whole basement is messed up. They're going to have to build a new main station. That's coming, because if they don't, they can't continue to expose the employees to that kind of environment. Mold and mildew. So for the sake of argument, that's not something that just happened yesterday. That's something that's been going on for a long time.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hester, I believe next time, before we get involved in all this stuff, we need to have them come to the workshop. They need to come to the workshop so we won't have to go through all this.
They were here.
Next go around.
They were here, Mr. Kelly. Yes, sir. They were here.
Then what's the problem?
I don't know.
Man.
Well, I would just like to say that absolutely no way, shape, or form, and I'm not speaking for you guys, but I can almost speak for you guys and say there is nothing that I would vote for to take away any services that provide security, safety for our community. No, absolutely no way, shape, or form would I do that. I only want to enhance it. I only want to make it better. I only want to make people trust us, even though government's hard to be trusted. I want to make sure that we make the right decisions with your money, with our money, and make sure that we do things the correct way. And make sure that every single thing that we do is a reflection of how good this county is and what a great direction that we're going. And that is because of the people and the people that do trust us here.
Go ahead.
All right. Is there any more discussion? All right, so we have a motion on the table to approve this first reading of ordinance 2025-19. Hearing no more discussion, I will call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes 5-1. Next up, we have item 6D, which is the first reading of ordinance 2025-18 to repeal the county's land development regulations enacted December 11th, 2002, as subsequently amended, and replace the same by enacting Chapter 2, Subdivision and Land Development Regulations of the county's Unified Development Ordinance, and to provide for other related matters. So before we jump into that, I will call our Planning Director, Jeremy Ward, forward, and you can give us a brief overview of that ordinance.
Thank you, Chairman, County Council. On October 30th, 2024, in the town of Great Falls, at a public workshop co-led by the late Councilman Mike Vaughn, a resident of the town wrote that it was, quote, important to protect our scenic byways and rural views and to provide a diversity of new buildings and development. On November 7th, 2024, in Richburg, 19 participants ranked more street trees as one of their top priorities for new subdivisions, and also discussed how important new trails and outdoor recreation for residents are. Across our workshops, 27 citizens said that they wanted new houses built with front porches, more hardwood trees in between the sidewalk and the road, and a variety of architecture and colors for houses. And on November 1st, in an online survey, a resident from Rodman said that she wanted houses in new subdivisions to be less ugly and held to higher architectural standards. These and other citizens of Chester County spoke, and you answered. This draft of our subdivision codes is the end result of 6 months, over 6 months, of hard work by you, by each one of you, and our planning commissioners that include 12 public meetings, numerous individual meetings, and 3 field trips. This is also the culmination of many ordinances and text changes that you have enacted for the past 5 years and beyond to get us to this place where we are now, comprehensively updating our subdivision and land development regulations for the first time. And many of these changes came directly in response to citizen comments from our survey and workshops last fall and individual meetings, where over 500 citizens shared their detailed opinions. Are these new codes you have before you perfect? No, but they are a major improvement. They bring our codes into the 21st century, and they will make our new subdivisions safer and more beautiful places for citizens of Chester County to live, both now and in the future. If you choose to pass them into law, we will collect feedback on their implementation. We'll collect information on any loopholes that may exist, on any unwanted or unwarranted restrictions or burden that they cause for citizens of the county particularly. And we will revisit these codes in 6 months, and then at 12 months, and then at 24 months out, to be sure that we edit them as needed so that they are as close to perfect as they can be. So I would like to thank each one of you for your hard work over the past 6 months, your leadership, and your vision to bring us where we are now. I'm here for any questions. I will note in your packet that at their most recent special call meeting on August the 5th, the Planning Commission made one slight recommendation for clarity on page 5. Again, thank you, and I'm here for any questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ward. Is there a motion to get it on the table for discussion?
I want to make that motion.
All right,
First reading ordinance 2025-18.
I'll second.
all right, we have a motion and second. Discussion. Wow, that's great. We want to thank you, Jeremy, Mr. Ward, for your work on this. This is really just as you said, I think it brings our codes up to where they need to be with the times. And just as you said, there's been a lot of time and work by a lot of different people to make it happen. And this is just first reading, so we certainly have time to tweak things as the readings go along. But you know, we've spent a lot of time with these new words and codes, and I certainly feel good about the direction it's headed.
Shows what a good job you're doing, Jeremy.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Is there any additional comments, discussion?
I have one question. How is this going to work within the outskirts of the town of Fort Long with their sewer system?
Yes, sir. So these new codes will apply to any subdivision or development of land in the unincorporated county, regardless if it's on well and septic, CMD, Chester wastewater, or the Fort Lawn sewer system. So they will regulate lot sizes, roads, how subdivisions are laid out for the whole county.
So, but the sewer system in Great Fort Long is going to comply with what they're doing?
If it is a subdivision,
The reason I ask is Gallo is not in the town.
correct.
And that, I know that's not a housing development, but if you built a housing development where Morrison's is, then Fort Long says, we got this specific type of sewer system and this is what we want, and it doesn't G-horse with what we do. How are we gonna do that?
That's a good question. If it's in the unincorporated county and the two areas that may have the situation you mentioned are Fort Lawn, Great Falls also has many of their sewer lines in the unincorporated county, But if it is land in the county, it will fall under these codes. If it's within the city limits or the town limits, it will fall within their own codes. Incidentally, Fort Lawn does not currently have an active subdivision ordinances enacted, so that may be a future project. But if it's in the county, it would fall under these codes.
So for the sake of argument, Mr. Lester would go sit down with Mr. Jordan and have a conversation about the sewer in Fort Lawn.
Yes, sir.
I do like what you said about that we're going to review this. I guess you are, and you'll bring it to council at 6 months, 1 year, and 2 years, and then every so often thereafter. I think that'll be really helpful. This is a lot of new code, so I'm sure there'll be some things we want to change. But any more discussion? Then I'll call for the question. Those in favor of this motion, which is ordinance 2025-18, those in favor of this first reading, raise your right hand to say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Thank you. That brings us to 6E, which is the first reading of ordinance 2025-17, authorizing the execution and delivery of a First Amendment to fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreement by and among Chester County, South Carolina, ICO Glass Fiber Incorporated and ICO Matt Tech Incorporated, previously identified as Project Phoenix 22, acting for themselves, one or more affiliates and or other project sponsors, pursuant to which the company and the county agree to certain amended incentives and amended performance measures, providing for other related matters. Before we entertain a motion on that, before we discuss, I'll ask Mr. Kozlarek to speak to that ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, as the title indicates, and I will work on shorter titles for future meetings, this is an amendment or proposed amendment to an existing fee in lieu of tax agreement. The original agreement with ICO that was entered into just a few years ago, they originally promised $327 million investment and 162 jobs. In exchange for that, the county offered them a fee in lieu of tax and a special source revenue credit for years 1 through 5 at 55% and years 6 through 10 at 25%. They have come back and increased their investment to $500 million and the creation of 200 jobs, which is an increase of $173 million and the increase of 36 jobs. In exchange for that, the county would be offering, if council approves this tonight and the 2 additional readings, to increase the special source revenue credit for years 6 through 10 from 25% to 55%. That's essentially the only substantive change in the agreement. They would increase their investment and their jobs, and the county would agree to increase that second 5-year window of the special source revenue credit.
I have a question that just popped right in my brain. What happened to the fee in lieu of tax agreement with PP&G and Boyle Stone? When they go away, what happens to the fee in lieu of taxes?
If those fee in lieu of taxes are terminated, then they revert to ad valorem tax. If they're not terminated, then they continue to pay under the fee in lieu of tax.
But PP&G went away, so they had to pay ad valorem taxes on the building, on the vacant building.
I know PP&G was terminated, and they reverted to ad valorem tax on that building. Boyle Stone, I do not recall if it was officially terminated. I thought it was as well, but it would revert to ad valorem tax.
So it goes back to ad valorem taxes, so the fee in lieu is gone.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-17.
Second.
All right, discussion. All right, hearing no discussion, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of this first reading of ordinance 2025-17, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Brings us to our administrator's report. Mr. Hester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to remind everyone, the offices will be closed Monday, September 1st for Labor Day. The next county council meeting will actually be on September 2nd, which is Tuesday following Labor Day, as is customary. Our recycling centers and landfill will be open on Labor Day with regular operating hours. Second item is reassessment notices went out last Thursday. We reposted our video, my interview with Mr. Anderson I saw in the back of the room there. And it was just a little information session, question and answer with him. So if you have any questions, if citizens have any questions, or if you guys get calls as council members on the reassessment notices when they receive them, please have them call the assessor's office or come in, schedule an appointment, and Mr. Anderson will be happy to answer those questions and clarify anything that they may have concerns about, as well as they can watch the video again. And it answers a lot of the questions as to the whys of reassessment. But you'll be presented as council sometime in September from Mr. Darby and Mr. Wade, our auditor, on the millage and the potential for rollback with regard to the millage and how that affects everything. So that should be coming, I think, the second meeting in September, Mr. Darby. Is that what we're shooting for? Okay. And then last, I'm happy to announce that Jeremy Ward, our own planning director, has been accepted to the Local Government Leadership Institute beginning in October. And the purpose of this program is to provide a skill-building educational experience for new potential executive-level managers in South Carolina local government. It's intended to prepare the participants to effect changes in their organization and ultimately improve the communities in which they live and prepare them for next steps in leadership. And again, I just want to thank him for the hard work with subdivision codes and the work he's done. You all acknowledge that, and he has been a tremendous asset since bringing him on, well, a year ago now, I think we're at. So, and with that, it concludes my administrator's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hester. Next up is item 8, which is the consent agenda. We have item A, it's the third reading of ordinance 2025-13. Mr. Kozlark, you have a word on that one.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, I do apologize. I know it's the consent agenda, but I wanted to highlight one item. In the agreement and ordinance that has been working through the council process, there are 4 TMS numbers that have always been listed in the agreement. There were only 3 actually called out in the ordinance itself. There should have been all 4 of those, so it has been noticed properly. I'm not concerned about that. But I did want to highlight that the one that was not originally included in the ordinance draft was the one for the ball field that will be refurbed. So I wanted to highlight that has been added in the packet, so it's in front of you, and it was always listed in the agreement, but it's now also included in the ordinance.
All right, thank you. Next on the consent agenda, we have item 8B, which is the second reading of ordinance 2025-14, and C is the second reading of ordinance 2025-16. So we have A, B, and C on the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda, item A, B, and C.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion?
I'm for it, except this County Industrial Business Park agreement. I'm going to vote no.
All right, so we would need to pull it back out of consent agenda then.
Yes.
So we need to withdraw those motions, would
I'll
probably be the.
withdraw my second.
I withdraw the motion.
All right, so we're going to take them one at a time if we could. So item 8A is the third reading of ordinance 2025-13. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve third reading of ordinance 2025-13.
I
Second.
that.
All right, I think I heard Mr. Raines first. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, next we have 8B, which is the second reading of ordinance 2025-14.
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-14.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all in favor. And then we have item 8C, which is the second reading of ordinance 2025-16.
I'll make a motion, we approve second reading of ordinance 2025-16.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of the second reading of ordinance 2025-16, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that passes 5-1. We don't have any old business, so moving on to new business. Item 10A is the consideration of usage of excess CPST funds for the Great Falls Visitor Center. Mr. Hester?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, council members. So I prepared just a brief statement regarding, to explain this and kind of stay on track. So I'd like to update you all on the status of the Great Falls Visitor Center project, specifically the use of the $250,000 contingency and other related expenses. To date, the contractor, J.M. Cope, has addressed several major issues that were not anticipated in the original plans. These included significant asbestos and lead paint abatement, a full replacement of the first floor due to rot and fire damage. And let me just kind of explain, this was all covered up. This was not something that, you know, in their initial inspections and cost opinions that they would have seen. In fact, there was some asbestos and lead in the initial cost opinions, but then as they tore more out, there was more, there'd be 3 layers of something, asbestos and lead under it. There was also removal of an underground fuel tank, a slab, an additional asbestos removal in the crawl space, shoring and jacking of the second floor to replace structural beams, code required changes such as an elevator sump pump and additional support piers. Altogether, these items have reduced our contingency balance to where we now just have about approximately $50,000 left in that contingency. So with this in mind, we had a meeting last week with members of J.M. Cope, our engineering and architecture group, as well as county staff and the town administrator from Great Falls. And so we asked for looking ahead for potential worst-case scenarios due to the things that they've uncovered and things that they may be seeing in the demolition. And so we asked J.M. Cope to provide some cost estimates. They're here tonight. Seth Curry is here with us tonight, and he can answer any questions that you all have that I can't answer or that you want to ask him. They have provided me with a 4-page document, a very detailed outline of each item in detail that led to the cost thus far and the proposal of the worst-case scenario. The projected worst case would be that the project would need an additional $252,000. These include the possible need to replace more of the second floor than originally was planned, reframing of the interior walls, a complete roof replacement if needed, further asbestos abatement if discovered in the shingles on the roof, potential extra masonry repairs, water repellent for the exterior brick, and replacement of rotted window trims and seals. Some of these items are discretionary, such as the water repellent, while others, like structural framing, are unavoidable. J.M. Cope's goal, shared with the county and the town of Great Falls, is to ensure the Visitor Center stands strong for another 100 years once this project is complete. Recently, you all approved Ordinance 2025-8, allowing the use of extra CPST funds for this project, which was an original CPST project. At that time, we added $223,000 to achieve the big cost of the project, with the contingency of that $250,000 was included in that. You have already approved the use of extra CPST funds, but due to the potential dollar amount in excess of what was already provided, I'm asking that council simply vote to approve or deny the increased amount. Please note that this is a worst-case scenario in the opinion of J.M. Cope, our friends there, and we may or may not need the entire $250,000, $252,000 in additional monies. The current balance of our excess CPST funds is at $2.28 million. The original project, if you remember, was under budgeted in the original CPST, but it was for $2.6 million. So, I mean, there is a value to what is going on there. The other option is to value engineer. If council votes to deny it, the only other option we have is to value engineer the project and possibly not complete the second floor or the elevator of the visitor center and alleviate the need for excess funds. However, it's my recommendation that we have $2.28 million in extra funds now. We may not have that money in the future when there is a desire to finish the project if it's not moved forward. I can answer any questions you have, or representative from J.M. Cope, Seth is here, can also answer any questions, but simply if there are no questions, we would ask council to either approve or deny the additional funds up to $252,000 be used in excess, be used from the excess CPST funds to keep the project moving forward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hester. Could we maybe see if there's a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to approve the funds up to $252,000 for the Great Falls Visitor Center.
Second.
All right.
I
so
have a
discussion.
question for this. I mean, if you read the Justin newspaper, and no disrespect to Mr. Brunson or Ms. Price, but is this part of that SLED investigation?
No, sir, this was a CPST project. Funds, Mr. Darby and I know exactly, he's allocated any funds that were spent prior to us, which I believe I've got in an email here. It was paid for engineering and $38,000 towards the project prior to us taking over the project. But our goal, when they were in a transition from the mayor resigning to hiring a new administrator, we asked, right when the new administrator came on, if they would mind if we took over the project. And Mr. Hayes has been managing that project. So thank you, but good question.
All right, is there any more discussion? If not, I will call for the question. Those in favor of the excess CPST funds to be allocated in the amount of $252,000. Those in favor, am I accurate? That was your motion, right? The gist of your motion, Ms.
Yes.
Vice
Up to
Chairwoman
200
Mosley?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry. So those in favor of doing that, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Thank you. All right, next we have item 10B, which is our county projects updates, and ask our project manager, Harold Hayes, to come forward.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, hope all is well. Today I'm going to present the 2025 project update. The last time I presented was February 5th, 2024. An update was presented on the 53 CPST projects. And at that time, the update reported that 30 of the projects were completed, 13 projects had started, and 10 projects had not started. By July 15th, 2024, we had 35 CPST projects completed, and all the projects had started. As of today, August 18th, 2025, we have 90% of the projects of the CPST have started or have been completed, which is a good thing because it's a lot of projects and get down to 90%, which means that we got maybe about 3 projects that are not complete, but they are started. And so, for example, we got the Rodman Sports Complex. It's not completed, but as you can see, a lot has been done. You can see the 2 front fields have been sodded. Once those roots take hold, we'll move to the back and sod the back 2 fields. In the center, and as I'm looking at the top left image, you have the concession stand. To the right, you have the main entry down to the complex. And then the images below are exterior shots of the concession stand. We've had some issues, but we're still resolving them. For example, we got a hood that's big enough to feed the whole Army, U.S. Army. So we're working to get that size down so that we don't have equipment exposed on the roof. So the engineers are working on that right now. We also have the Chester County Animal Control Shelter that's on the way. The top in the left and then the bottom, the top left, top right, and bottom left are renderings of that project. And then the bottom right, if you can see it, That's where the project is currently. Someone say something? No. Where we're coming out the ground, it was a struggle. That particular lot had a lot of trash in it. We actually dug up a flatbed truck, the bed of it out the ground, along with many rocks and tires. It was just a real junky site. But we got through it, and we're coming out of the ground pretty good. So everything that we have going, it's going well. You know, it's been a long journey. Not to say there was no issues, but right now we feel good about all the projects that we have. We also have a project in Chester behind the courthouse where we're looking to upgrade the ADA parking. Currently, there's no ADA parking back there. We're going to upgrade that. But in order to do that, we've submitted documentation to SCDOT to where we can have ownership of that road, where we will turn that road into one way. So you will come in from Wiley and then go out to Center, so that we can get the necessary appropriate parking for ADA, as well as upgrade the ramp or the entrance into the family courthouse. So those are the three that we still have. I'm not gonna say outstanding, but that are still, under design and construction. So we're coming along.
Where are we on the, didn't we do some stuff to or discuss doing some stuff to the War Memorial Building? Whatever happened with those projects?
Yeah, the War Memorial Building project is still ongoing. We've actually ordered some, I don't want to call it equipment, but statues that'll be a part of the project. So that project is coming along. We have some interior walls that'll be made of glass that are currently on order, but that project is moving along as well. Although it's not a CPST project.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes, sir.
excuse me, how you doing today?
Good. How about
Is
you?
they gonna fix that road that y'all finna turn into a one-way street, where the courthouse is?
Yeah, we will maintain that road, and so whatever we have to do to get that road to drain properly, we will do that.
It's real bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment. We come a long way in our projects that we're doing in Chester, and I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like to me we're moving a lot faster with these projects than I remember us ever moving, and from what I'm seeing on the screen, makes me proud to be a part of what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you. And I attributed that to Mr. Hester, along with the team that we put together. Everybody works well together. I got my right-hand man, Mike Levister, back there. So I'm not gonna say it's easy, but when you have a group of people that's working towards the same effort and want to see everything happen and not someone gets shine and somebody doesn't, it makes it a lot easier, but the work is still hard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say, these are just a sampling of projects. CPST is only 53 of the
Right,
project.
right.
We have projects come up every day where we go and fix a sidewalk or other things that Harold designs for us in-house and he oversees. And I can't tell you how much that means prior to him coming, and the amount of the load that took off of me to have him here as our project manager and to keep these projects going. And so, yeah, this is just a sampling of what he does. He comes in dirty a lot of days too. So.
Yeah, going out to the site is.
But it is a team effort, and they work well. Our departments work very, very well together to get the job done.
Are there any more questions? I want to thank you, Mr. Hayes, for
Thank
your
you.
work. Keep it up. Keep it up. And I will echo what Mr. Guy just said, and that is that for years, we struggled. We struggled to get projects done. And to see this animal shelter so close, it's coming out of the ground, is really exciting. So, and Rodman too. Next up, we have our item 10C. We have our Veterans and Visitor History Center update. Vice Chair Aaron Mosley.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Just to kind of give an update on that, I know a few folks were there with me that day as well. It was a combined effort of people to meet with the folks that are going to be doing the exhibits at the Gateway Center in that front part. It's about 1,000 square feet. And the name of the company is called HW Exhibits. I know General McManus and Brett Stoudemire. We have the 250 Committee, Great Falls Hometown Association, the Chamber, the Historical Society here in Chester County, our county administration were there. We were all kind of coordinating about how we want it to look, public input, anybody who wanted to, give a thought or a story or any validity to all the history that we have here in the county is something to be proud of. So the 1,000 square feet in the Gateway part is just going to be basically, it's going to be more tourism, but like a heritage tourism, so we can kind of see where we come from, how we created Chester County, how people created Chester County. A lot of veterans acknowledgments through all the wars, World War II, Vietnam, World War I, all of our folks that are still around today or have family that are still here today, of which I'm proud to say I am one, as many of you are as well in this room. So it gives us all a chance just to kind of recreate those things that sometimes get lost in the past, and we want to kind of bring that to the forefront and make it so people know who we are, where we started, and how great this county really is. And also, Britt had made the comment too. Maybe we can create some future historians with this project and make it something worthwhile, and acknowledge our veterans, each and every one of them that sacrificed so much. The ones that didn't come back and the ones that did. So we want to fully acknowledge all of that and all of our history. And we're going to do different sites and acknowledge different battlefields that we had here around the county. We're also going to do a lot of, particularly since the 250 is coming up next year, we're going to be doing a lot of focus on the 250 committee, or excuse me, the 250 celebration. So that's going to kind of be at the forefront. When this is finished, is going to be the 250. So hopefully we'll inspire a lot of folks to come by and visit Chester County. We're going to try to do a lot of publicity for it and get some things out and about, and hopefully create some excitement here for our county. Yep. Anybody have any questions on council?
No, but that's really cool, what you're doing down there. I went and saw Joy Yarborough the other day, and it was amazing what looks like in there and what you're doing down there. And it's pretty cool to honor those men and women that served our country.
Yeah, and the folks who are going to be doing the exhibits also did the one in Camden. It's going to be like the life size, in the uniforms. It's going to be really neat. So I'm excited about that. So any further information?
Were they able to provide a timeline as far as when they might see completion?
Yes, they say it's 6 to 9 months roughly, from what I recall about that. Hopefully, there's a lot of grant money out there, a lot of excitement from South Carolina 250, not just Chester County, to kind of get this going too. So I think we'll have a lot of support and a lot of back in there to get it done and get something else going good here in our county.
All right, thank you very much for that update. Next, we have item 10D, which is the first reading of CCTA 25-07, Chester County Zoning Ordinance, Text Amendments, Chapter 4, 4-111, RG1, multifamily residential uses. And I am going to ask our planning director, Mr. Ward, to come forward again and stay around because we've got several of these to go through. And we'll take them one at a time, and you can give us explanations as we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council. I'll briefly introduce these. So these are 9 text amendments. They build on the workshop that we did on July 14th. If you'll remember, we had a robust discussion about conservation subdivisions, all things conservation subdivisions. This is a new and unique solution that Chester County is on the verge of trying out. We will be one of the first in the state to try this. They're very popular in other states, including North Carolina. So these are 9 text amendments. At the workshop, you instructed me to tailor the solutions a bit, and I'm presenting those before you now. These will amend our zoning code of ordinances to allow two types of conservation subdivisions, which are urban conservation subdivisions and rural conservation subdivisions in certain zoning districts, so that they can be built if someone wants to, not a requirement, but if someone wants to build one, they can be built as soon as these are passed. I'm here to answer your questions. This first one is for the RG1 multifamily residential district, and it would allow urban conservation subdivisions within it.
Are there any specific questions for Mr. Ward? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve first reading of CCTA 25-07.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, all in favor? I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Next, we have item E, which is the first reading of CCTA 25-08, Chester County Zoning Ordinance, Text Amendments, Chapter 4, Section 4-112, RG1, Multifamily Residential District Regulations. Mr. Ward?
Yes, sir. So this is essentially a trade-off between the county and the developer in exchange for them saving 33% of the land in a conservation or agricultural easement. The county will be allowing them to lower their lot size from the regular 10,000 square feet to 6,500 square feet, and also allowing them to lower their minimum lot width from 70 feet to 60 feet, and their side yard from 15 feet to 10 feet. So it's a trade-off. The county's saying for these subdivisions that have public sewer and water, will allow you to do smaller lots, similar to the lots at Woodhaven, for instance. Smaller lots than a quarter of an acre, in exchange for setting aside a large chunk of land, 1/3 of buildable land, in a conservation easement.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve first reading of CCTA 25-08.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Brings us to item F, which is a first reading of CCTA 25-09, text amendment for Chapter 4, Section 4-113, RG2. Mr. Ward.
So this is the exact same thing as before. These next four will allow urban conservation subdivisions in the RG2 and LC zoning districts. So it's just being sure that we make this change across all of our 3 higher density residential districts.
All right, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of CCTA 25-09.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. All right, all in favor. Brings us to G, which is the first reading of CCTA 25-10. It's a text amendment for Chapter 4, Section 4-114, RG2. Mr. Ward.
So this is the same as RG1. It lowers the minimum lot size and lot width and side yard.
All right, so any discussion? Or let's get a motion, sorry. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve first reading of CCTA 25-10.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. Next, we have H, which is the first reading of CCTA 25-11, text amendment for Chapter 4, Section 4-115, LC, limited commercial district uses.
This is the exact same thing except for the LC district.
Make a motion to approve first reading of CCTA 25-11.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Next, we have I, which is the first reading of CCTA 25-12, the text amendment for Chapter 4, Section 4-116, LC, limited commercial district use.
This is the exact same as the prior ones as well.
All right.
I'll make a motion, we approve first reading of CCTA 25-12.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, those in favor of this motion, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 All in favor? Next, we have J, which is the first reading of CCTA 25-13, text amendment for Chapter 4, Section 4-103, R2, Rural 2 District Uses.
So here's where it becomes a little bit trickier. If you'll recall at the past workshop, y'all had some very good discussion about the rural conservation subdivision. So these are going to be larger lot subdivisions on about 1 acre minimum lot sizes, mostly probably in the R2 zoning district. The concern expressed by council was that this is a great idea in theory. We like the idea of in these rural areas allowing some use of land while saving 55%, so up from 33 to 55% of land in an agricultural or environmental conservation easement. However, there may be some parts of the county that are not suitable for this sudden of an influx of people. Maybe it's a couple hundred people in a rural part of the county that's not suitable for it. You asked me to look at roads, road condition, proximity to towns perhaps to find an option. The number was also mentioned of 100 homes, that if it was less than 100 homes, there was less of a worry than if it was greater than 100 homes. So this is the solution that I'm presenting before you tonight, and it would allow conditional approval by me, the zoning administrator, of a rural conservation subdivision if 2 conditions are met. 3, actually. The first one is that it has to be at least 20 acres, so it can't just be, I own a small piece of land, I'm wanting a loophole. It's got to be a real subdivision. It has to be less than 100 homes, and the entrance has to be within half a mile, as the crow flies, of a federal or state highway. And you'll see the map in front of you. So these are, the thin blue line is where all of our highways are in the county, and the dark blue line around it is a half a mile buffer around that. So you'll see about where in the county this could be. If it is within half a mile of a highway and it's less than 100 homes, it could be approved automatically. They would still have to work through the planning commission for their subdivision plan to be sure that it met all of the requirements that you just passed the first reading of in the subdivision ordinances. But as far as the zoning, it can be approved automatically. Are there any questions about this?
Can you speak a little more about the difference between a highway and a state road? A state highway versus a state road?
Good question. So the road system in South Carolina is a little confusing, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. There are private, state, and county roads in our county. And there are many state roads that are not state highways. And we do have a federal highway, I-77 as well, an interstate highway. So we have a lot of state roads that are not state highways and that would not count towards this requirement here. But all the ones highlighted in blue are state highways, and then I-77, of course. But there are other roads that are maintained by the state that are not listed on this map.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of CCTA 25-13.
I'll second.
All right, discussion.
I have one question. How does this pertain to the house on 97 with the fence?
Would you explain a little bit more, Mr. Agee?
If we're gonna set all these up, and then somebody goes and builds a house and puts a 10-foot fence and then puts another 10-foot fence on top of that, how do we control that? Why are we worried about that? Because this man and his neighbor do not get along. It is deplorable. I don't mean he can live like he wants to, but that's an eyesore beyond belief.
I hear you. So where this would come into play is more of on the front end. It would have given that developer an option. He built 2-acre lots along an existing road, so it would have given him an option to build 1-acre lots along an interior road. So the subdivision itself, if he had chosen to go with this sort of subdivision, which it would have been eligible for, you're right, it's along Highway 97, then the subdivision would look differently. I don't know if the privacy or the issues with the fence would still be occurring or not. But this would regulate how the subdivision could be built.
All right, so we have a motion and second for approval. Is there any more discussion? All right, I will call for the question. Those in favor, and I want to make sure I'm right, we're on J, right? All right, those in favor of first reading of CCTA 25-13, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. All right, all in favor. Next, we have K, which is a first reading of CCTA 25-14, Chester County Zoning Ordinance, Text Amendments, Chapter 4, Section 4-103, R2, Rural 2 District Uses. Mr. Ward.
All right, so this is where it gets even trickier too, so hang in with me here. At the workshop, you also said that some of these may be suitable for rural areas. You just wanted some additional oversight. You did not necessarily want it to be approved without any questions asked, any conditions imposed. You wanted there to be an additional layer of oversight. Thus, item K would allow a rural conservation subdivision to be reviewed not by me, but by the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is, I'll say, an excellent board. They do really good work, and it would allow them to review rural conservation subdivisions that fall into these criteria. They have at least 20 acres, and this is the important one. The site plan is less than 100 homes or is within 1 mile of a state or federal highway, unless an exceptional plan is presented for agricultural or environmental conservation. And then the Zoning Board of Appeals can review that and use their subjective opinion based on the good of the county to say, you'll see in number C there, are there any necessary conditions that need to be imposed for safety of traffic or safety of the subdivision and impact on the district? And then is the use compatible with the district? Thus, if someone comes along with a plan for 500 homes and it's within the 1 mile of a highway, but the ZBA feels like it's out of character for the area, it would cause safety and traffic issues, they can deny that request. It gives them some leverage to hear what the community has to say. So just a few more examples. If it's within 50 homes and half a mile, automatically approved. It says if it's within 50 homes, but it's over 1 mile away from a highway, say it's 2 miles away from a highway, it would go before the ZBA. If it is over 100 homes and it's over 1 mile away, it's not eligible to be a conservation subdivision unless it's just a really exceptional plan. So a little complicated, but I believe that this does, in my professional opinion, protect the rural residents of this county, even from these really unique and good subdivisions that preserve rural character. It gives them just an added layer of protection for these very rural parts of our county.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of CCTA 25-14.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I will call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 All right, all in favor. All right, got one more. So that is L, which is the first reading of CCTA 25-15, text amendment for Chapter 4, Section 4-104, R2, Rural 2 District Regulations. Mr. Ward.
So very simply, this is the final one. This would allow for the R2 zoning district, these lots to be on 1 acre as opposed to the regular 2 acres, again, in exchange for 55% of the land being saved.
All right. I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of CCTA 25-15.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
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 All right, all in favor. Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to boards and commissions. Our first one is item 11A, which is the Old English District appointment.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Ms. Kiana Benson to the Old English District.
I will second that
I
motion.
second.
All right. I'll second it. And I probably should have asked Mr. Hester to speak to this before I open up for nominations, and I apologize. But
And I'll just tell council that I've received 2 letters of recommendation for Ms. Kiana Benson. She is the new tourism director for Chester County, and she works for the chamber, who our partnership with is to manage our tourism function in the county. But Ms. Benson is that new tourism director. And so the chamber has recommended her to serve on this board in one of our seats. We have, our chamber has a member on the Old English Board, and then council has a member on the Old English Board. And then Old English has also sent, the Old English District has also sent a recommendation that with the former appointee Susan Cruz's resignation that was accepted by council, that they're recommending or asking for Ms. Benson to serve on this board as well.
all right, so we have a motion to appoint her to this board. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor. That brings us to 11B, which is Accommodations Tax Board resignation. Mr. Hester, will you speak to that? Or
You want me to speak to that, or I think that's Mr. Agee's?
yes, sir, let's do that. Mr. Agee.
Ms. Hedgepath is going to resign, or has resigned from the Accommodation Tax Board. They only have one meeting a year. She's really got it straightened out. I had a lot of heartburn taking her off, but she's going to be placed upon the Fort Lawn Fire Protection District, and I think that will really help that board with some good leadership.
All right, so do you have a motion, Mr. Agee? You have a motion.
I make a motion that we accept Mrs. Hedgepath's resignation from the Accommodations Tax Board.
Second.
All right, thank you. So we have a motion and second. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 All right, next we have 11C, which is the Fort Lawn Fire Protection District appointment. Mr. Agee.
I would like to recommend Ms. Marie Hedgepath as the newest member of the Fort Lawn Fire Protection Board. Mr. Threlkill resigned a few weeks ago, and Ms. Hedgepath, with her leadership in business, I think will be a very good addition to that fire board.
All right, so we have a motion for that appointment. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 All right, all in favor. Next, we have 11D, which is the Accommodations Tax Board appointment. I will make the motion that we approve Tanner Stillwell to fill that seat for District 4.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? I'll call for the question. Those in favor of appointing Tanner Stillwell to that Accommodations Tax Board, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 All right, that is approved. So we don't have executive session tonight, so that brings us straight on into council comments. All right.
I would like to say that Ms. Westbrook has had a leg amputated. She's going back next week to have another one amputated. She really, really has a really bad time with sepsis. And she is an employee. I don't know how long she's been an employee of the county. But we need to make sure that we as a county and the citizens of this county take into consideration her medical thing. She really was a tremendous dispatcher for us for a long time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Agee. Anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand.